Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome the opportunity to take part in this debate, particularly as a newer member of the Transport, Infrastructure and Climate Change Committee. As has been said, Parliament secured a historic landmark in achieving the Climate Change Scotland Act. Members worked hard at amending and strengthening the legislation, which was a collective piece of work. We could not have achieved everything we hoped to without the community-based and NGO coalitions, and we have to again look at communities for solutions now. But now that the Act is in place, the Scottish Government has to follow it up with actions to deliver on the intentions of the Act. The largest share of emissions in the non-traded sector comes from transport and buildings, where, however, with concentrated work, a difference can be made, and many new jobs in new sectors can be generated as a result of our efforts to tackle climate change. Jobs, for example, in producing alternative energy and in insulating buildings. We also need to link in essential training for such jobs, and I was pleased to hear an update on this at Monday's Jobs Summit at Dundee College with UK Minister Anne McEachen, where it was pointed out that many courses have been developed in the college over recent years to train people for exactly this kind of opportunity. Last year, the trade union group of the Campaign Against Climate Change organised a conference of 200 union activists. The report of that conference called for 1 million new green climate jobs across the UK, and it is essential that here in Scotland we make sure that we play our part in reaching that target. The UK Climate Change Committee report gives an in-depth analysis of our path to a low-carbon economy, and the Scottish Government needs to review its climate change delivery plan in response to that. Will the Minister then ensure that guidance to public bodies will have a strong focus on low-carbon procurement? Emissions from transport are, in fact, increasing, yet there are many actions that ministers could take. The Labour motion is calling specifically for the Scottish Government to put in place a programme to replace their own fleet with low-carbon or electric vehicles as a lead to others. To drive the required step change, the Scottish Government needs to support the provision of electric car charging infrastructure to follow up and extend, for example, the Joined Cities plan in which Glasgow has been chosen to participate, as called for in the amendment by Alison McInnes. This kind of action would indeed have positive knock-on effects for jobs. For instance, in Dundee, where advanced battery manufacturer Axion is developing new high-energy battery chemistries ideal for use in plug-in electric vehicles. This is particularly essential now, as from January of next year the £5,000 plug-in car grant will be available across the UK. The grant intends to persuade people to transfer across to more environmentally friendly electric cars to help reduce carbon emissions. Climate change is an international issue whose serious consequences do not respect national boundaries. It must be the least nationalist and the most internationalist issue that we face in the coming decades. Think global and act global is still a very relevant maxim. One example is the work at Dundee University and its involvement in AQUA, assessing climate change impacts on the quantity and quality of water, a 5-year international project financed by the European Commission, which examines the consequences of climate change for communities such as in Chile and in the Alps, where the melting of mountain glaciers and snow make a significant contribution to water resources. Dundee University does research globally, but they also act locally. The university was in the news last week as the first employer in Tayside to receive the Cycling Friendly Award for encouraging its staff to cycle to work. It's up to each one of us to make changes in our behaviour to reduce our carbon footprint. I urge the Minister to take up the challenges here as a matter of urgency.